So when they called me to offer me the job, I remember getting, I think because Gary Bettman obviously wasn't in charge of the broadcast, but Gary Gary called me, and I said to him, "What are you like? Are you crazy? You guys don't want this."
So this is Toronto 06, 07, 08. This is when I was in Toronto with the Leafs, and I was lucky enough, of course, growing up in Belleville, Ontario, seeing Strombo all the time, right? Knew Strombo, knew about him, the whole thing. And I think I've talked about it here. If I isn't here, it's everywhere else, is that the best part of playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs for me was being able to hang out with all the music guys. Okay. And I put Strombo in that category. It was, I got to hang out and become great friends with Gord and Johnny Fay, like all the guys, like everywhere. I was at every concert. I was at going to Strombo's show in the studio, right? Strombo, you had me over there a bunch of times. So that was the best part of Toronto. So I'm there. We're hanging out. Strombo ends up showing up at the rink. And I'll give Strombo tell it better from his side, because I was at the rink and Strombo comes in. He's putting goalie gear on. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to take shots. He puts a Canadians jersey on in the Leafs practice facility. I'm like, no. Like, you
now to set the scene, Strombo, you don't play goalie at any point when you're on the ice, right?
Dude, I didn't even start skating till I was 31. Like, I don't even. I'm a bad hockey player at my best, and I've never played goal in my life.
Strombo. I remember Vegas. Yeah. I remember you out there.
That was really fun, wasn't it? In Vegas, we had a good time. Oh my God!
I don't remember much, but I do remember that.
That was so fun. So I was getting ready to launch the new season of my talk show, and I wanted to have a little bit of fun. And of course, I'm a Habs fan, and I knew Andrew, and I like him as a person, but I rooted against him when he was a Bruin. So I was like, my Commodore number 25. Like, so I was such a diehard Habs fan, but I love the guys in the Leafs. Like, I love the guys in the Leafs. They're such great guys. And so you were there. It was the late, great Wade Belak was there. Also Brian McCabe and Darcy Tucker. So I thought to launch the season, I thought, it'd be really funny. What if I dress up like a Hab goaltender and go take shots from the Leafs, because I was about to launch the talk show from News World to the main network, and people hadn't really had successful daily talk shows for a long time in Canada. So we thought, what would be a great way to start the season in a way that you can't possibly win, was go in there and just have NHLers unload. I thought the equipment would protect me more than it actually did. And so, Andrew, you look at me and you said, you're crazy. I wouldn't do this. So I get out there in my full Habs uniform in the Leafs practice facility, and they just start unloading.
Oh, I bet.
What off the face mask? I think McCabe knocked me over, hitting me in the chest. It was a really funny way, I thought, to start.
It was priceless for everyone but you. I was like, because again, the gear, I knew the gear wasn't going to protect you enough. Like, you're standing straight up. I'm like, it was amazing. Strombo skated.
It was so fun, and I took.
So who's shooting on you? So McCabe shooting on you?
Belak and Darcy, yeah. And I took one in the jock.
Ooh. Took one in the jaw or the jock?
The jock. Oh my God! But it was. I'll tell you, that. Yeah, I don't know the Leaf guys, the guys in the Leafs now, but I'll tell you that era of the Leafs team with you guys. There was something really powerful when the Leafs, from my perspective, were connected to the community in a way. You guys were so good to the city. And what was crazy was that win or lose, and you got all the joy and all the grief, but you were liked. People liked you guys. Even if they booed against you at times, they liked that team. They liked those guys. And it was just really fun. Like no other team, by the way, would let that happen, would let me walk up dressed up as a rival. Right. And on your grounds and take that. It was just so much fun. It was so much fun.
Sounds like you took it.
Oh my God. I watch that every now and then. Somebody will send me that video and I watch it and remember just how fun it all was.
So you're wearing a Habs jersey for this moment that you're talking about. And, I think anybody that has ever watched or grown up with you, or lived next door to you for that matter, knows that you bleed bleu, blanc, rouge. Yeah. Where does that come from as a kid who grew up in Toronto?
There's a couple things. On a deep level, it's probably connected to the fact that my father was a Habs fan, but my father split when I was a kid, so I didn't really grow up around my father. But my grandfather and my uncle, who were the two great men in my life after my dad left, one was a Leafs fan, my grandfather, and my uncle was a Bruins fan. So, and he loved you, Razor. He loved you. He just passed in November, but he loved you, man. And so in my family, we're immigrants, right? So we didn't grow up getting in the same room to cheer with each other. We got in the same room to cheer against each other. So it was really easy to become a Habs fan. Also, Mats Naslund was playing for the Habs, when I was a really young kid. I loved Mats. And when I was a kid coming from an Eastern European family, the Leafs at that time were kind of known with Harold Ballard for not being, they were kind of maybe a racist organization.
Terrible in that period. Yes. Yeah. Like we're 80s kids, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the Habs, even though they weren't a great team, the Habs were a team that really seemed to embrace Eastern Europeans. So I felt like that was all these parts. And then growing up in Toronto, the most punk rock thing you could do is be a Habs fan at that time. So, and what's funny is that I even when I hosted hockey and hockey night and I got fired and there was a minute where I'm like, how connected to this team, to this sport am I really? Didn't matter. When the Habs get in the playoffs, all of my rational, experienced grown man life gets thrown away, and I'm 10 years old again. And I think that the power that jersey has over me is crazy. And in a way, I wish it didn't, but it does.
Strombo, go to that. And growing up and doing the show and the music and much music, and then getting that call for Hockey Night in Canada, and what your uncle and your grandfather thought of that when you told them about the opportunity that you had to be the face of hockey in Canada.
They got a kick out of it. I think they all knew, like I knew, that it was a long shot that it would work, because I think they knew that I could do it, but that the kind of the cable sports world wasn't really designed for a guy like me. What I was used to building, I explained this to them at one point, it's that what I wanted to bring to that was I understood what it was like to be on a network in Canada, not a sports network. And it's different the way you approach how you build Canadians. And I thought CBC at its best is the intellectual and emotional railroad of Canada. But this wasn't a CBC production. This was a Rogers production, right? So my family got a kick out of it, but they all knew. They're like, are you going to change? And I said, of course not. I'm going to be me. I was actually told, do less music in your personal life. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, what are you, crazy? So when they called me to offer me the job, I remember getting, I think, because Gary Bettman obviously wasn't in charge of the broadcast, but Gary called me, and I said to him, "What are you like? Are you crazy? You guys don't want this." And I remember talking to the Rogers guys and said, "You guys don't want this. I know what you think you want, but it's not this. I know what I wanted to do would work and would have prepared it." What's really funny is I listened to you guys. I watched your stuff. I love when you had Puck Daddy on not that long ago. I watch what you do. I see what, Spittin' Chicklets does. I see what Merrick did, which he started, of course, with Greg. What we were trying to do was before all that, 100%. Trying to bring that kind of podcast. Seaballs, it's what you did with Mako on your radio show. We were all just a little too ahead of our time. And now look at your success and look at what you guys are able to do. Look at how open hockey players are. You two guys, this space didn't exist for you even 10 years ago. Right?
George, to jump in on that, and I was just going to say, I remember when the announcement went down, and to think that, to lift up the curtain, I think most people know the story's been reported, but I think there was a real play by Rogers to go after James Duthie. Mm-hmm. And when James kind of decided not to go down that road, you come in, and it made so much sense, because I don't know if any conventional sports guy could have gone on after Ron. You were the perfect tonic, but exactly you were the superstar Billy Graham, if you will, 10 years too soon, right? You were the, honestly, you brought, I think hockey was desperate. I think people wanted personality. And you were just too soon, where now I think you'd be a perfect tonic for what the game is trying to do. But I also think the other thing that worked against you in some respects, every Canadian hockey team stunk at that time. Look back, the Leafs were in a rebuild. The Canucks were in a rebuild. The Oilers were perpetually drafting first overall. The Flames stunk. The Habs were, and just a middling team. So were the Jets, right? You didn't have it.
Right.
Every team stunk.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's why that's actually a perfect scenario for it to work if they let me do it in the way we wanted to do it, is that yeah, Canadians like to celebrate, but the Canadian hockey experience is usually filled with despair. That is generally what the Canadian hockey experience has been. So you want people who can be honest. Growing up a Habs fan and working at CBC, which is filled with Leaf fans, and being on Hockey Night, which was almost always Leaf fans, was really, it was just so, it was such a great opportunity to upend the way it's being done. But again, I don't mind that it ended. I knew it wasn't going to last. I don't mind that because I always just thought, man, what a cool opportunity. I have to say yes to this because, you know, I grew up watching this show left, right, and center. I love Hockey Night in Canada. I still watch it, although I'm in the States more often than not, so I pick up hockey coverage where I can. But I consume sports podcasts. I don't even listen to sports radio. I consume sports podcasts. And, you know, Colleen, when we saw each other at was it the Metallica show we saw each other at?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so like
sounds right.
Yeah.
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 And then I jumped on you because I was like, oh my God, you're just grilling Babcock. And then you said shh, 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 because Fidif was right there and he's friends with Mike. I'm like, oh, I better shut up. The whole culture of sports, I think we wanted to make it different. You know what's ironic? And again, I didn't see them, but this is what the people who ended up firing me, what they told me was, they said, you know what's funny is that the numbers are actually higher with women and people under 30 with you as the host.
Shocking.
You know,
Shocking.
Isn't that the goal?
Exactly what the demographic they were looking for.
Right.
Isn't that the goal? But again, I don't mind it. You know, the industry's been so good to me that you get hired, you get fired. I don't worry so much about it. Because again, it's to me, the whole career is what is the daily experience like for me? And then when I sit back and look back, am I happy with the choices I made? And I got to host Hockey Night in Canada, even if it was only for a couple of years, doesn't matter. I think it was so dope. I mean, Neil Young's dad was the host of Hockey Night in Canada for a minute. How cool is that? Neil Young's dad. So I'm happy. But listen, I got to tell you, having the Habs out of the playoffs and working at Hockey Night was better for me because I don't enjoy the playoffs when the Canadians are in it because it's too stressful for me.